an, an ongoing investigation. The individual responsible for that horrific act is pending prosecution, and we are working very closely with the United States Attorney's Office in preparation for the prosecution. So I'm very, very limited to what I can discuss in that regard. What I can tell you is that, from my experience, one, we cannot let acts like that in any way change our values, who we are, what we do, and how we live our lives. There are folks that are susceptible to that horrific message or have a propensity for violence and fall victim to that behavior. I personally don't think there was anything that could have necessarily been done. As you've seen in the attacks around the world, yes, you can debate the weapon or the firearms on all of those things, but as we've seen, when someone's determined to do a horrific act, if they are that set, they will find a means, whether it's a knife, a gun, a truck. We are doing everything that we can to try to identify these individuals as early as possible, engage them, and try to either prevent them from going down that path or if necessary, conduct an investigation to disrupt and eventually arrest and prosecute. We're trying to work with the communities to try to help them or to get them to engage more with these folks as they start to identify them. But you know, from Broward County's perspective, again, I can't go into too much detail, but there was not a lot of thought in regards to the selection of which airport he was going to travel to. So it wasn't anything that we did or that the airport represented or anything like that that made him come to Broward.
Thank you. We have a two-part question. One is, as an individual in Broward County, what's the one thing we should worry about from a safety point of view, whether it's physical or property or intellectual property? And the same question for business. We have a lot of business people, and obviously we're all individuals.
That's a great question. So as an individual, I would tell you, protect your identity. That is probably the biggest threat that we are currently facing here in South Florida. We are #1 in the stolen identities. I don't recall the number, but the number of stolen identities every minute here in South Florida is 100% higher. Hundreds, I should say, percent higher than anywhere else in the country. So stolen identity, personal identifying information, which is being obtained in large volumes. Believe it or not, I fell victim to that as well. My tax guy got hacked, and all of my information was taken as well. And I don't get any special treatment either. So as an individual, I would tell you to take a lot of caution with your personal information. Now, as a business, what I will tell you is that the cyber threat is significant here in our country and here in South Florida, and it is growing. I would encourage businesses to really look at the protection that they have for their data, and especially if you have information, your clients' information, customer information, things like that, you have a duty and responsibility to protect that information and have your cybersecurity system in place that really does protect that. And if something happens, you gotta call right away. Again, I'm gonna pick on my tax guy. So I go to have my taxes done, and as he's doing my taxes, he tells me, oh, by the way, I was hacked. And a lot of my customers' information was stolen. Did you get a letter from IRS? I go, no, I have not gotten a letter from IRS that somebody has filed a false fraudulent tax return using my information that was stolen from you. No, not yet, but thank you. So I go, have you reported it? And he goes, I'm reporting it now. And I'm like, this is not how it works. When did it happen? And he was like, in January. So please do not do that to your customers, to your clients, or to your businesses. The cyber threat is very significant. They are looking and they are targeting small businesses because they don't have the infrastructure built in to prevent these types of attacks, various malwares and all of those kinds of things. We have a robust capability here. You fall victim, please reach out to the FBI, let us know, and we will assist you in identifying who is responsible, try to protect your data or get the data back, and then seek out those responsible. Even cities have fell victim to that. The city is not in Broward County, though. Okay.
Thank you, George. So, great curiosity about your relationship with Saddam Hussein. Three-part question. The first is, how did you become the lead interrogator?
Okay. So, to be honest with you, I didn't even realize I was being considered for the selection. I just got a call. I still remember it as if it was yesterday. It was Christmas Eve, 2003. It was 5 p.m. I still remember exactly where I was at. I was heading to the mall to do my last-minute Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve. Phone rings. It's our headquarters, and I was informed that I had just been selected to carry out the interrogation of Saddam Hussein. You can imagine my initial reaction to the news, and it actually took me a little time to overcome that initial reaction. I later found out how that selection was made. The FBI was asked to take the lead in the interrogating of Saddam Hussein, even though the purpose was really to collect intelligence regarding Iraq's WMD program and its relationship with al-Qaeda. The two reasons why the United States went to war and now fell on the shoulders of the FBI to try to answer not only for our government, but really for the American public who wanted to know those answers. So the FBI recognized if the interrogator was going to have any chance of success, because this was going to be a long-term interrogation, very strategic in nature, so in a sense it was, they anticipated the interrogation to potentially last a year. So for the interrogator to have any chance of success, the interrogator had to be able to speak Arabic. Saddam did not speak English, and if the interrogator was going to have that one-on-one type interaction and engagement, the interrogator had to be able to speak Arabic. So of course the Bureau went through its agent population. In 2003, we had roughly over 12,000 FBI agents stationed all around the world, and they discovered that they had 12 native Arabic speakers. I happened to be one of the 12, so you can see how my chances dramatically increased at that point. I'd like to say it was my good looks and charm, but it wasn't.
We'll go with the latter on that one. So describe the man and describe, like, were you in a room? How long did this go on for? How did your relationship develop with this man?
Okay. So Saddam Hussein was one of the most brutal dictators of our modern time. Saddam was the first dictator to use chemical weapons against his own population and one of very few in history to ever use chemical weapons against the civilian population. Absolutely brutal, responsible for the deaths of millions of lives during those 34 years that he was in power. Showed no remorse, no regret over any of his actions or anything like that. Absolutely a monster. On the other side, he was extremely charismatic, very charming, could be polite, and had an incredible sense of humor. In a sense, there were two people in one. And he could switch back and forth between being that brutal dictator to be that very charismatic, charming, funny guy who was very fun to talk to. Initially, as you can imagine, he was very, very guarded, very defensive, reluctant to engage and have any connection or anything like that. So my goal, my initial effort was to gain that connection, to allow me to gain an insight into his thoughts, his moods, his perceptions, get to understand who he was, so then I could try to develop a strategy in regards to how to extract the information regarding the Iraq's WMD program and its relationship with al-Qaeda. It was a 7-month process. I saw him, talked to him, interacted with him one-on-one every single day for nearly 8 months. And I saw him and I talked to him every day between 5 to 7 hours. Now, people that know me go, wow, 5 to 7 hours with you, that is actually kind of like torture. But it was one-on-one, he and I, and we would talk about, initially, we would talk about literally anything and everything he wanted to talk about, which gave me the opportunity to truly study him and get an understanding of who he was. It took about 5 months to develop a relationship or a connection to where I could tell him that I would not tolerate him misleading me, lying to me, all of those kinds of things. And at about the 5-month mark, he was at the point where he could, where I believed he was being very truthful with me and very open. And that's when we began to talk about WMD terrorism and things like that, and answered all of the questions that we as a government had regarding Iraq.
Fantastic. I know we had a lot of curiosity about that, and thank you and congratulations. Final question, I want to bring it back home. We're here to talk about Broward County. We're thrilled that the Miami branch is in Miramar. And what we would like to know from you is, what can we do to help you keep Broward safe?
Just really, as I mentioned earlier, it's that partner engagement, whether it's with the FBI or whether it's with Broward Sheriff or the other various phenomenal law enforcement agencies that we have in Broward County, really in South Florida. We have an incredible relationship with all of those agencies. We work very, very closely together, and it is imperative really for the community, one, to support its law enforcement agencies and continue to engage with them because we rely on our community for all of the information that are going to be critical for us to be successful. That's the support that we need, is the trust and confidence from our community and the engagement from the community. And hopefully today was just one of those, another opportunity to show you how dedicated that law enforcement professionals are to serving their community. And the other thing that I would ask you, I know there are some elected officials in the audience, please push the going dark issue with them. We cannot have total encryption in our country. It is a detriment to our public safety. Civil liberties is something that we take very, very seriously. It is not abused, and I think that message does get lost, and we need to recognize how important public safety, public security is while we balance civil liberties. So, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, George Pirro. Wow. All right. We're bringing it home. We do it on time here at Broward Workshop. I want to close by reminding us that despite some of the things that we heard today, some of the challenges, we need to know this as leaders. We live in the greatest place on earth. We got the beaches and the waterways and the climate and the airports and the seaport and culture, and we have you. I want to thank, first of all, the management team at Broward Workshop. Karine Boutros, will you please stand up, and Gaynell Smith. The program committee that put this together, Mayor Sharif, as always, thank you. Dr. Parrish, thank you very much. Special Agent in Charge, Mr. Pirro, thank you so much. Thanks to all the Broward Workshop members. Mostly thanks for you for coming. We look forward to working collaboratively with everyone in this room to make Broward even better. Look forward to seeing you next year. If you want to stay in touch and hear what we're doing, put your business card in the basket out there. And we look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you so much. Good day.